General walked slowly through the long, dark hallway that led to the High Council chamber. His forearms hung heavy at his sides, and his clawed feet made soft sounds against the cold stone floor. He had served the Dominion Empire for 300 cycles. He had conquered 17 star systems and crushed rebellions on 40 different worlds. He had earned more battle honors than any living officer in the entire empire. But today, as he approached the massive doors of the council chamber, his hands were shaking. He was afraid, and he had not felt fear in a very long time. The doors opened and stepped inside. The chamber was enormous, with walls made of black stone that seemed to swallow the light. 12 council members sat on elevated platforms looking down at him with cold reptilian eyes. At the center sat High Chancellor, the most powerful person in the Dominion Empire. She was old and her scales had faded to a dull gray, but her eyes were still sharp and cruel. Stopped in the center of the chamber and bowed his head in respect. Then he spoke the words he had been preparing for months. "I urge the council to reconsider the planned attack," he said. His deep voice echoed through the hall. "The humans must be allowed to remain neutral. We should not provoke them." Chancellor leaned forward in her seat. Her thin lips twisted into something that might have been a smile. "You speak of a species that has barely learned how to travel between stars. They control only 12 small systems. The Dominion rules 8,000 worlds. Why should we fear such primitive creatures?" "Numbers are not everything, Chancellor." "Then explain yourself, General. What could possibly make these soft-skinned beings worthy of such caution from our greatest warrior?" Took a deep breath. He had spent 2 years stationed near human space. He had watched them carefully and studied their history and their ways. What he learned had changed him forever. 20 cycles ago, I captured a human data archive," he began. "It contained records of their entire planetary history. I expected to find evidence of a weak species that would be easy to conquer. Instead, I found something that still gives me nightmares." The council members exchanged glances. Was not known for exaggeration or weakness. If something scared him, then perhaps they should pay attention. "The humans call their home planet Earth. It is a small blue world with nothing special about it. But their history is unlike anything we have ever seen in all our conquests. They have been at war with themselves since the very beginning of their civilization. Not small fights over territory like most species have. Constant brutal warfare that has lasted for thousands of their years without stopping." One of the council members interrupted. "Fighting among themselves suggests they are weak and divided. This should make them easier to defeat." "No," replied firmly. "It suggests something far more dangerous. They have spent their entire existence perfecting the art of killing each other. They developed weapons capable of destroying their whole planet before they had even left its surface. They split the atom and turned it into a bomb while they were still stuck on one world. Do you understand what that means?" The chamber fell silent. Most species develop weapons of mass destruction after they reach the stars when they encounter alien threats. Humans did it while they were alone. They were preparing for wars that did not even exist yet. They were so good at violence that they nearly wiped themselves out multiple times. Chancellor waved a dismissive claw. "Barbaric perhaps, but hardly a threat to the Dominion. They destroyed entire cities in the blink of an eye. Millions of their own people turned to ash in seconds. And after they did that, they did not stop. They kept building more weapons. Biological agents that could kill billions. Chemical weapons that melt flesh from bone. Machines that hunt and kill without any living being controlling them. All of this was created for use against their own kind." Stepped closer to the council platform. His voice grew more intense. "And here is what truly terrifies me. Despite all this violence and destruction, they survived. They did not destroy themselves. They made it to the stars. Do you have any idea how impossible that should be? A species that violent should have wiped itself out long ago, but they did not. They looked into the darkness of their own extinction and they refused to fall into it." He paused to let his words sink in. It means they have already fought wars more brutal than anything the Dominion has ever experienced. It means they have faced complete annihilation and learned how to survive it. Their military tactics and their weapons and their way of thinking about war have all been forged in fires we cannot even imagine. I have studied their entertainment media, continued. They create fictional stories about war and about fighting against impossible odds. In these stories, they always imagine themselves facing overwhelming enemies with superior numbers and better weapons. And in these stories, they always win. This is not just propaganda. This is how they truly see themselves. They believe deep in their souls that they can defeat any enemy no matter how powerful. Belief does not equal victory, the Chancellor said, but her voice had lost some of its confidence. For humans, it often does. Their history is filled with examples of smaller forces defeating much larger armies through determination alone. They have a concept they call never giving up. It does not translate well into our language. The closest meaning would be that they would rather die than surrender. Every species claims such honor. Humans mean it. They have proven it over and over again throughout their history. General reached into his uniform and pulled out a small data chip. He placed it on the floor before the council. I have gathered everything I could find. Their wars, their weapons, the way they think and feel. I am begging the council to read this information. Do not attack their colony on Meridian 4. Do not give them a reason to turn their terrible creativity against us. Let them stay neutral. Let them be. Chancellor rose from her seat. Her eyes were cold and her decision was already made. The Dominion Empire does not bow to potential threats. We crush them before they can grow. The attack on Meridian 4 will proceed as planned. These humans will learn their place in the galaxy. They will kneel before us or they will be destroyed. Closed his eyes. He had known this would be the answer, but he had to try. Then may the ancient gods have mercy on us, he said quietly, because the humans will not. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Behind him, the council members laughed at his warnings. They had conquered thousands of species. What could one small civilization of soft-skinned creatures possibly do against the might of the Dominion Empire? They would learn the answer soon enough. And by then it would be far too late. The colony on Meridian 4 was a peaceful place. About 300,000 humans lived there in small cities surrounded by farms and forests. They had come to this world to grow food and study how to make dead planets come alive with plants and water. They were scientists and farmers and families with children. They had no army. They had only a small security team to deal with wild animals and the occasional argument between neighbors. Captain Amy was running her morning patrol on a ridge outside the main city of New Haven when the sky turned to fire. 18 Dominion warships appeared out of nowhere directly above the colony. They did not send any messages. They did not ask for surrender. They did not explain why they had come. The first blast hit the center of New Haven before anyone even understood what was happening. Amy watched from 3 kilometers away as the building where she had attended a meeting just yesterday simply disappeared. A column of flame shot up into the sky and the shockwave knocked her off her feet. She hit the ground hard, and for a moment she could not breathe. When she finally stood up, she saw that the entire downtown area was gone. Just gone. Where thousands of people had been living and working moments ago, there was now only fire and smoke and a crater that seemed to go down forever. She grabbed her communicator with shaking hands. "All units, this is Captain. We are under attack. I repeat, we are under attack. This is not a drill." The responses she got back were broken and full of screaming. Most of her officers were already dead. The small planetary defense system had been destroyed in the first few seconds. 20,000 people died before anyone could fire a single shot to defend themselves. The bombardment from space lasted 6 hours. The Dominion ships moved slowly across the sky, raining fire down on every city and town and village. By the time they stopped, there was almost nothing left standing. The beautiful colony that humans had spent decades building was now a burning wasteland. When the Dominion ground forces finally landed, they expected to find the survivors hiding and crying and ready to become slaves. They expected broken people who would do anything to stay alive. They did not find that at all. Lieutenant Commander Brooks had been visiting his sister and her family when the attack started. He was a Navy officer on vacation, and he had no official authority on Meridian 4. But that did not matter anymore. Within 2 hours of the bombardment ending, he had gathered 300 survivors in an underground shelter and organized them into fighting groups. "They think we are finished," he told the exhausted faces looking up at him. "They think because they destroyed our homes we have nothing left. They are wrong." An old man named George raised his hand. He had been a history teacher before he retired. "Commander, most of us have never even held a weapon. How can we fight trained soldiers?" "You will learn. Every human being carries thousands of years of warfare in their blood. Our ancestors fought against animals twice their size using nothing but rocks and sharp sticks. They invented the spear and the bow and the gun and the bomb. They fought on frozen mountains and in burning deserts. They never stopped fighting, and neither will we." Held up a crude bomb made from farming chemicals and fuel. "The Dominion has better weapons than us, better ships, better armor, but they have never faced humans defending their homes. They do not know what we can do when we are angry." The first Dominion patrol to enter the ruins of New Haven was completely wiped out. The survivors had set traps everywhere. Buildings were rigged to collapse on anyone who entered. Explosives were hidden under rubble. Tunnels connected the destroyed structures so that attackers could strike from any direction and then vanish before anyone could shoot back. 20 alien soldiers died without ever seeing the humans who killed them. The second patrol called for help. The third patrol called for even more help. By the time night fell, the Dominion had lost over 200 soldiers, and they had not managed to capture a single block of the ruined city. The human survivors had melted away into the wilderness and the underground shelters and the burned forests. They struck fast and hard, and then they were gone like ghosts. Commander Sala was in charge of the ground forces. He had conquered many worlds before, and he had never seen anything like this. He contacted General on the command ship in orbit. "General, we are having problems. Unexpected resistance." His face showed no surprise. He had expected this call. "Tell me what is happening." "The humans are not behaving normally. They should have given up hours ago. Instead, they are fighting us everywhere. With homemade bombs, with captured weapons, with farming tools in their bare hands. We lost an entire squad to a group of farmers who used some kind of chemical mixture to melt through our armor." "Go on." "We destroyed their government in the first attack. There is no one giving them orders. There is no chain of command. But somehow they are still working together and adapting to everything we do faster than should be possible. It is like every single human is their own general." Nodded slowly. "That is exactly what is happening. Humans do not need someone to tell them how to fight. They organize themselves. It is built into them." "General, what should I do?" "Commander, I warned the High Council not to do this. They did not listen. What you are seeing now is only the beginning. You have killed their families. You have burned their homes. You have given them a reason to hate you. And hatred is something humans are very good at." The communication ended. Commander Sala looked out at the burning colony, and for the first time in his military career, he was not sure he could win. Somewhere in the ruins, Captain Amy gathered her surviving officers in the basement of a collapsed building. Her face was covered in ash and blood. She had not slept since the attack began. "Our distress signal went out before they destroyed our communications," she said. "Earth will know what happened here. Help will come eventually." "How long?" someone asked. "Weeks, maybe months." "Can we survive that long?" Amy looked at the exhausted people around her. Some were security officers, but most were not. There were teachers and engineers and farmers. There were teenagers who should have been worrying about school instead of war. All of them had lost someone they loved in the attack. All of them wanted revenge. "We do not just need to survive," Amy said. "We need to make them pay for every single hour they spend on our world. We need to hurt them so badly that by the time our ships arrive there will be nothing left of their army but bodies." She spread a rough map on a broken table. "We have 3 goals. First, we destroy their supplies, their food and fuel and ammunition. Second, we kill their officers. Without leaders, their soldiers will panic. Third, we protect the civilians who are still hiding. We save as many as we can. And if we cannot do all 3, Amy's eyes were hard and cold. "Then we focus on the third goal. We are fighters now. We die so that the others can live. That is our job." The resistance on Meridian 4 had begun, and it would not end until the last Dominion soldier was gone or dead. Admiral Cole was 62 years old. He had gray hair and tired eyes, and he had spent his entire life hoping that humanity would never face a real war among the stars. He was running training exercises with his fleet near the outer colonies when the distress signal from Meridian 4 reached his ship. He read the report once. Then he read it again because he was sure he must have made a mistake. 18 Dominion warships, he said quietly to himself. Orbital bombardment without warning. Estimated civilian deaths in the tens of thousands. His aide, Lieutenant Morgan, stood at attention nearby. "Sir, the command center on Earth is asking for your assessment of the situation." Put down the report. He looked out the window of his ship at the stars. Somewhere out there 300,000 of his people had just been attacked without any reason. Families had been burned alive. Children had died screaming. And the Dominion Empire thought they could do this without consequences. "My assessment is that we are now at war," said. "Sir, should we not wait for the politicians to make an official declaration? By the time the politicians finish arguing, everyone on Meridian 4 will be dead." Turned to face his bridge crew. Every single one of them was watching him, waiting to see what he would do. "Open a channel to every ship in the 3rd Fleet. Plot a course for Meridian 4. We leave immediately at maximum speed." "Admiral, the 3rd Fleet only has 7 ships. Intelligence reports suggest the Dominion force has at least 14 vessels remaining in the system." "I know the numbers, Lieutenant. Set the course." The 7 ships of the 3rd Fleet turned toward Meridian 4 and began their journey. While Admiral Cole traveled toward the battle, the news of the attack spread across human space like fire through dry grass. The distress signal had been sent through special relay stations that could transmit information faster than any ship could fly. Within hours, every human settlement knew what had happened. The response was immediate and overwhelming. On Earth, young men and women lined up outside military recruitment centers. The lines stretched around entire city blocks and grew longer every hour. Factories that had been making consumer products shut down and started making weapons instead. Scientists who had been studying peaceful things suddenly found themselves designing bombs and warships. A species that had enjoyed 100 years of relative calm remembered very quickly what it was like to prepare for war. President Daniel Hayes addressed the United Nations Assembly in a speech that would be remembered for centuries. "1 week ago, the Dominion Empire attacked our people without warning or provocation," he said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath the words. "They killed innocent civilians. They murdered mothers and fathers and children. They burned a peaceful colony to ash for no reason other than that they thought they could." He paused and looked out at the representatives from every nation on Earth. "The Dominion believes we are weak because we are young among the stars. They think we will surrender because we are outnumbered. They are about to learn how wrong they are. Humanity has survived ice ages that covered our world in frozen death. We have survived plagues that killed half our population. We have survived world wars where we turned our most terrible weapons against each other. We have stared into the abyss of our own extinction over and over again, and every single time we have refused to fall. The Dominion thinks they know what war is. They do not. They have been conquering species that did not know how to fight back. They have grown soft and overconfident. They have forgotten what it means to face an enemy that will never give up. President Hayes stepped forward, and his eyes blazed with determination. Today I am ordering the full mobilization of every military resource humanity possesses. Every ship, every soldier, every factory, everything we have will be dedicated to one purpose. We will defend our people, we will defeat our enemies, and we will make them understand that attacking humanity was the worst mistake they have ever made. To the Dominion Empire I say this. You have awakened something you do not understand. We did not want this war. We were happy to explore and build and grow in peace, but you gave us no choice. And now you will learn why humanity has survived when so many other species have not. We do not forgive, we do not forget, and we do not surrender, ever. The assembly erupted in applause that seemed to shake the building. Across human space production increased beyond anything anyone had ever seen. Shipyards that usually built 2 vessels per year were now building 2 per month. Mining operations tripled their output. Regular cargo ships were fitted with weapons and armor. Every human who could do something useful did it. The entire species was preparing for war. 3 weeks after the attack, Admiral Cole's 7 ships arrived in the Meridian system. What he found surprised him. The Dominion fleet was still there, but it was smaller than before. 4 of their ships had been destroyed by the planetary defenses before those defenses fell. On the ground, the occupation force had lost nearly half its soldiers to the ongoing resistance. The humans on the surface had been fighting every single day, and they had made the Dominion pay dearly for every meter of ground. "Admiral," Lieutenant Morgan reported, "we are detecting organized signals from multiple locations on the planet. The colonists are still fighting." Allowed himself a small smile. Of course they are human. He ordered his communications officer to open a channel to the Dominion command ship. General's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired, and his eyes showed something that might have been respect. "Human vessel, you are outnumbered 2 to 1. If you withdraw now, I may allow you to leave." "I do not think so," replied. "I am Admiral Cole of the Human Alliance. I have come to help the defenders of Meridian 4, and I am giving you 1 hour to take your ships and leave this system." "You have 7 ships, I have 14. "I can count, General. My offer stands." Studied the human on his screen for a long moment. "You truly believe you can win this fight?" "General, I do not just believe it, I know it. Humanity has been fighting against impossible odds since before we learned to write. Your ships are bigger, your weapons are stronger, your numbers are greater. None of that matters." "And why is that?" "Because we are willing to pay any price for victory. Every ship in my fleet will fight until its last crew member is dead. Every colonist on that planet will resist until their final breath. You can kill us, General. You can destroy our bodies and burn our worlds. But you cannot defeat us, because for every human you kill 10 more will rise to take their place, and they will be angrier than the one before." Leaned forward in his command chair. 1 hour, General. After that we attack. And I promise you this. Even if you destroy all 7 of my ships today, you will lose far more than you can afford. The humans of Meridian 4 have shown what a few thousand civilians can do against your army. Imagine what happens when the full might of humanity arrives. The communication channel closed. General sat in silence for a long time. Then he contacted the High Council to recommend immediate withdrawal. They refused. 1 hour later, the Battle of Meridian 4 began. The 14 Dominion warships moved into attack formation with the confidence of predators who had never known defeat. Their hulls gleamed in the light of distant stars, and their weapon systems hummed with deadly power. General watched from the command deck of his flagship as his fleet prepared to destroy the 7 small human vessels that dared to challenge them. "General," his tactical officer reported, "the human ships are not retreating, they are accelerating toward us." Frowned. The mathematics of battle were simple and clear. 7 ships could not defeat 14 under normal circumstances. The humans had to know this. Any rational species would withdraw and wait for reinforcements. But these humans were flying straight into the guns of a superior force. "The lead human vessel is sending a message, General. It appears to be addressed to their own fleet, but the channel is open for us to hear." "Let me hear it." Admiral Cole's voice filled the bridge. He was not speaking to the Dominion. He was speaking to his own people. "All ships, this is Admiral Cole. Today we fight for Meridian 4. We fight for the 300,000 souls who were murdered without cause. We fight for every human who has ever been told they were too small and too weak and too outnumbered to win." The 7 human ships spread out into a formation that did not recognize. It was aggressive and reckless. It was designed to cause as much damage as possible while completely ignoring defense. It was the formation of someone who did not expect to survive. "Remember what we are. Remember who we are. Our ancestors crossed oceans in wooden boats when they did not even know if land existed on the other side. They climbed mountains with nothing but their hands. They went to the moon in machines that had less computing power than a child's toy. We are the descendants of people who looked at the impossible and said, 'Watch me.'" The distance between the fleets closed rapidly, ordered his ships to open fire. "Today some of us will die. But dying in defense of our people is no tragedy. It is an honor. Every second we buy with our lives is a second our brothers and sisters on that planet can use to fight back. Every Dominion ship we damage is one less threat to humanity." The first human ship took a direct hit from a Dominion plasma cannon. Its shields failed instantly. Half the crew died in the explosion that ripped through the lower decks. The ship kept coming. "Do not mourn for us. Fight for us. Win for us. And when this war is over and we will win this war, tell our children that we held the line." Watched in disbelief as the damaged human ship accelerated even faster. It was not trying to retreat or maneuver. It was aiming directly at one of his destroyers. "What are they doing?" his tactical officer whispered. The human ship slammed into the Dominion destroyer at full speed. Both vessels exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. Neither crew had tried to escape. Neither crew had hesitated for even a moment. "They are doing what humans do," said quietly. "They are refusing to accept defeat." The battle lasted 4 hours. It was 4 hours of chaos and death and destruction that the Dominion had never experienced before. The humans fought like demons. When their weapons failed, they rammed their ships into the enemy. When their engines died, they used their dying momentum to drift into Dominion vessels. One human ship, with its entire bridge crew dead, was still firing its guns because the engineering team had rigged the weapons to fire automatically. By the end, all 7 human ships had been destroyed. Not a single one had surrendered. Not a single one had tried to flee. Admiral Cole died when his flagship crashed directly into a Dominion cruiser at full speed. He had aimed for the engine core on purpose. The explosion destroyed both ships and damaged 2 others nearby. 7 ships against 14. When the fire and debris cleared, the Dominion fleet had been reduced to 8 functional vessels. 6 ships destroyed. 2 more so badly damaged they could barely move. On the planet below, the human resistance fighters had watched the battle through equipment they had stolen from dead Dominion soldiers. They saw the last human ship go dark. They saw the sacrifices their navy had made. And then Captain Amy spoke. "They gave us time, they gave us hope. Now we give them victory." The ground fighting intensified beyond anything the Dominion had experienced. The human survivors attacked with renewed fury. They struck at supply lines and communication centers and command posts. They ambushed patrols and destroyed equipment and killed officers. Commander Sala died when his headquarters was overrun by a group of colonists armed with stolen weapons and farming tools. His last transmission to the fleet was a single word: impossible. General received reports throughout the night. Each one was worse than the last. His remaining ground forces were being systematically destroyed. The humans were not taking prisoners anymore. General, his communications officer reported, "We are detecting ships entering the system, human ships. Current count is 47 vessels." Closed his eyes. The reinforcements the High Council had promised would never arrive in time. The humans had responded faster than anyone had predicted. They were already here. "Signal what remains of the fleet. We are withdrawing to Dominion space." "But General, the High Council ordered us to hold this system." "The High Council is not here, I am, and I will not throw away more lives in a battle we cannot win." Paused. "I tried to warn them. I tried to explain what humans are capable of. They refused to listen. Now they will see for themselves." The surviving Dominion vessels fled from the Meridian system. Behind them, they left the wreckage of 6 warships and the bodies of nearly 10,000 soldiers. On the planet's surface, Amy watched the enemy fleet disappear into the distance. Around her, survivors began to emerge from their hiding places. They were battered and exhausted and covered in blood and dirt. They had lost almost everything. Nearly 80% of the original population was dead. The cities were ruins. The farms were ashes. But they had won. The first human relief ships landed 3 days later. Doctors and engineers and soldiers poured onto the planet, bringing supplies and hope. Among them was a young officer named Christopher Hayes, who found Amy sitting alone in the wreckage of what had once been a school. "Captain, I am Lieutenant Hayes. I have been assigned to help with rebuilding." Amy did not look at him. She was holding a small photograph of her family, her parents and her 2 sisters and her young nephew. All of them had died in the first minutes of the attack. "They killed everyone I loved," she said quietly. "I know. I am so sorry." "Do not be sorry." Amy finally looked up. Her eyes were hard and cold and filled with something that went far beyond grief. "Be ready. This war is not over. It has just begun, and I am going to make sure that every single member of that empire pays for what they did here." Christopher nodded slowly. "The whole alliance feels the same way, Captain. Every human everywhere." Amy stood up and carefully put the photograph in her pocket. "Good. Then let us get to work. We have a war to win." 2 years had passed since the attack on Meridian 4. In that time, everything had changed. The small human civilization that controlled only 12 star systems had transformed into a military force that threatened the very existence of the Dominion Empire. The war had spread across hundreds of light years. Every single assumption the Dominion had made about human weakness proved to be catastrophically wrong. Humans did not fight like other species. They did not follow predictable patterns or obey the normal rules of warfare. They adapted and improvised and refused to accept defeat no matter how bad things looked. When one strategy failed, they invented new ones. When their weapons were destroyed, they built better ones. When their soldiers died, their families volunteered to take their place. General stood once again before the High Council on Prime. The chamber that had once radiated confidence and power now felt hollow and desperate. Chancellor had aged 20 years in the past 24 months. 3 of the original council members were dead. 2 had been killed by human assassins who had somehow infiltrated the very heart of the empire. 1 had taken his own life rather than face the shame of what was coming. "General," the Chancellor said, "you requested this audience. Speak." Stepped forward. He was tired. He had been fighting this losing war since the beginning, and he had watched everything he predicted come true. "I am here to recommend immediate and unconditional surrender to humanity." The chamber exploded in shouting. Council members screamed denials and accusations. Some called him a traitor. Others demanded his execution, stood silently and waited until they exhausted themselves. "I understand your reaction," he said when the noise finally died down. "2 years ago I would have felt the same way, but the situation has changed beyond recognition. We have lost over 400 worlds. Our fleet has been reduced to less than half its original size. Our economy is collapsing because we cannot protect our trade routes, and the humans are not slowing down. They are getting faster and stronger every day." He activated a holographic display showing the current state of the war. The map told a simple and terrible story. Red zones showing Dominion territory were shrinking. Blue zones showing human-controlled space were growing. When we attacked Meridian 4, we believed we were facing a primitive species that barely knew how to fly between stars. We were completely wrong. What we actually found was a species that had been preparing for this kind of war for their entire existence. Their production capacity is beyond anything we can match. They have turned their entire civilization into a war machine. Their civilians work in factories day and night without rest. Their scientists create new weapons faster than we can figure out how to defend against the old ones. Their soldiers fight with a fury that terrifies our troops. Another council member interrupted. "Our superior numbers must count for something." "Our numbers mean nothing," his voice echoed through the chamber. "We have thrown millions of soldiers at human positions. They killed them all. We have sent our most advanced warships against their fleets. The humans captured them and studied them, and within weeks they were using our own technology against us. Improved technology, better than what we gave them." He pulled up another display. "This is footage from the Battle of 12. Watch carefully." The recording showed a Dominion defensive position. It was heavily fortified with the best weapons available and defended by 10,000 experienced soldiers. A human force of approximately 2,000 approached across open ground. The Dominion commanders had expected an easy victory. The battle lasted 6 hours. At the end, not a single Dominion soldier was left alive. Human casualties were fewer than 300. "They do not fight like us," said quietly. "They do not think like us. They feel pain and fear just as we do, but they have learned to use those emotions as weapons. Every soldier we kill makes them angrier. Every world we burn makes them more determined to destroy us." Chancellor leaned forward. "What exactly do they want from us?" "Justice, revenge, the complete destruction of the Dominion Empire as it currently exists." Paused. "And I believe they will achieve all of those things." "Then why suggest surrender? If they want to destroy us anyway, why would they accept anything less?" "Because there is still a small chance that we can negotiate something other than total annihilation. The humans are angry, but they are not monsters. Some of their leaders have spoken about accepting surrender if we meet certain conditions." "What conditions?" "Complete withdrawal from every world we have ever conquered. Payment to every species we have ever subjugated. Trials for everyone responsible for the attack on Meridian 4 and other war crimes. Permanent limits on our military power." "That would reduce the Dominion to nothing." "A shadow of an empire is better than no empire at all, Chancellor." His voice was heavy with exhaustion. "I have fought this war from the first day. I have watched everything we built crumble to dust. I have seen horrors that will haunt me forever. And I am telling you with absolute certainty that if we keep fighting, there will be no Dominion Empire left. There will be nothing but ashes and bones." The council argued for hours. In the end, they chose pride over survival. "We will not surrender," Chancellor declared. "We will continue fighting. We will find a way to defeat these humans." Bowed his head. "Then I want my objection recorded for history. When future generations ask why the Dominion fell, I want them to know that I tried to save it." The war continued for another 18 months. The humans pushed deeper into Dominion space every day. The woman who had survived Meridian 4 now commanded an entire fleet. Commodore Amy had become famous across the galaxy as the human who would not stop until the Dominion was broken. The final battle took place above Prime itself. The human fleet now numbered over 300 ships. The last remnants of the Dominion Navy barely had 50. General commanded the defense knowing it was hopeless. Amy requested to speak with him before the fighting began. "General," she said. Her face was calm, but her eyes held the memory of everything she had lost. "I wanted to talk to you before this ends." "I appreciate the courtesy, Commodore. 2 years ago you told your council not to attack my world. We intercepted your warnings. You knew what would happen." "I did, but you still fought against us." "I am a soldier. I follow orders. That does not mean I agree with them." Amy nodded. "My family died in the first few minutes of your attack. My parents, my sisters, my nephew who was only 7 years old." "I am sorry." "I know you are. That is why I am offering you a choice. Surrender now and I will guarantee the safety of your crew. They will be treated fairly. They will not be harmed." Looked at the massive human fleet on his display. He looked at his own tired crew. He thought about all the young soldiers who would die if he refused. "And if I do not surrender? Then we will destroy your fleet. We will take your world. And we will tear down everything the Dominion ever built." "You would truly do that?" "I would do far worse." Amy's eyes hardened for a moment, then softened again. "But I would prefer not to. I have seen enough death. I have caused enough death. If there is a way to end this without more killing, I want to take it." General looked at his crew one last time. Then he made his decision. "I accept your terms, Commodore. The Dominion fleet will stand down." The surrender was complete. Within hours, human soldiers were landing on Prime. The empire that had ruled 8,000 worlds for 10,000 years was finished. Years later, a human historian visited to record his memories of the war. "If you could change one thing, what would it be?" Thought for a long time. "I would have found better words. I would have made them understand what they were facing. Not a weak species to be conquered, a force of nature that could not be stopped." What advice would you give to any species that meets humanity in the future? Smiled grimly. "Simple, let them stay neutral. And if you cannot do that, then pray to whatever gods you believe in. Because humanity does not lose. They do not surrender. They do not forgive." They were warned. They should have listened.